Hello, and welcome to our tech tutorial series for Amazon EC2 Mac. My name is Scott Malke, and I'm a Specialist Solutions Architect with Amazon EC2. Today, we'll be getting started with Amazon EC2 Mac Instances. During this video, I'll give a quick overview of why we made Amazon EC2 Mac Instances, how they work, and then I'll walk us through a demonstration so you can easily get started using them. Let's dive in. Amazon EC2 Mac Instances were built for macOS developers and are built on Apple Mac mini computers. If you rely on Xcode to build, test, and sign applications for iOS, macOS, tvOS, or Safari, EC2 Mac Instances are for you. Mac Instances bring the security, reliability, scalability, and high performance of Amazon EC2 instances to Mac build environments. Let's talk a little bit about the nomenclature used in Amazon EC2 so you'll more easily be able to follow as we get deeper. An AWS instance is a term that we use to define either a virtual machine or a bare metal, non-virtualized system that a customer has direct and sole access to. Dedicated instances are virtualized slices of a physical machine. EC2 Mac instances fall into the category of instances that we refer to as dedicated hosts. EC2 Mac instances are bare metal, physical host machines that are dedicated to one account. With EC2 Mac instances, you have the entire Mac Mini to yourself. These hosts are allocated and released as a specific operation via the console, CLI, or API before use. With dedicated host, your cost is tallied by the amount of time the host itself is running, and instances running on top are no additional charge. Here's a picture of the EC2 Mac Dedicated Host. Currently, the Mac instances are using 2018 Intel-based Mac Minis with 6 physical or 12 logical cores and 32 gigabytes of RAM. Connected to this Mac Mini via Thunderbolt 3 is the AWS Nitro I/O card, which provides connectivity and monitoring to our EBS storage and AWS VPC networking. The first step to getting started with Amazon EC2 Mac instances is to allocate a dedicated Mac 1 host. Let's do that now via the CLI. After we show this step in the CLI, I'll show it again using the AWS console.
So here I am in the AWS CLI. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste in some commands. I'm now going to allocate a host using the allocate hosts command. This is in US West 2B, Oregon, mac1.metal, and you can see I get a host ID returned. Okay, so here I am in the console. I'm going to quickly go to my EC2 area, and I'm going to go down to dedicated hosts, and I'm going to allocate a dedicated host. I'm going to give my dedicated host something clever in terms of a name, like Oregon Mac 1 Dedicated Host. I'm going to pull down to the Mac 1 instance family. I'm going to choose my instance type, which is mac1.metal. I'm going to pick one of the availability zones. It has already put my name tag in there, so I just hit allocate. And you can see that that happens very quickly. I've already got a dedicated host allocated. Currently, none of the vCPUs are utilized because there's no instance on it.
As part of the macOS software licensing agreement, there is a 24-hour minimum allocation period for Mac 1 hosts. What this means is that once you successfully get that host ID back, a 24-hour clock starts running. So the earliest time you can release that dedicated host is after the 24-hour period has passed. When you launch an EC2 Mac instance, imagine plugging a USB SSD into the back of a Mac Mini and turning it on and booting from it. That's roughly analogous to what is happening, only instead of a USB thumb drive, it's an up to 16K IOPS, up to 64 terabyte, highly durable EBS block storage volume connected to the Nitro I/O card via the Thunderbolt 3 port. The Amazon Elastic Block Store, or EBS, is block-level storage that allows you the flexibility to run your own storage stacks with very high performance. Let's go ahead and launch a bare metal instance on the dedicated host we allocated before. First, we'll create a file named mapping.json that contains the below content. We can change the volume size and volume top to whatever EBS size and type we'd like. With that file and an EC2 key pair in this region, we can launch a mac1.metal instance. Once this instance is up and running, we can find our public IP address and SSH in using our key pair. This is the same process used for any other EC2 instance. After SSHing in, we can enable the built-in Apple Remote Desktop VNC server, then disconnect and reconnect our SSH session to enable the GUI.
Okay, so I'm going to use Spotlight to pull up the screen sharing app. And because I've tunneled SSH to localhost, I just put in localhost and then the username and password I set earlier for EC2 user, hit connect, and boom, there it is. I put the same password in to log into the machine. And in a few seconds, once it finishes loading, I will have the desktop of a Big Sur Ec2 Mac instance.
Now let's go ahead and do this again through the simple AWS console instead of the CLI.
I'm going to launch an instance onto that host, and I'm going to choose macOS Big Sur. You can see it pre-populates Mac 1 because that's the only instance type that it can launch. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose one of my IAM roles. And in the host section down here, I'm going to make sure that it chooses the correct host, which it did. So I'm going to go ahead and increase the size of the default EBS boot volume to 300 gigabytes. I'm also going to choose it to be a GB3 volume type for more IOPS. I'll go ahead and give my instance a name here, Oregon Mac 1.metal instance, something clever like that. Go ahead and configure my security group. I've got an existing security group that will let me get into it from my house for the next part of the video. I do have an existing key pair here, Malx US West 2, and so I'm going to go ahead and launch the instance, and now it launches. And once my instance is out of pending, it'll be ready to go. All right, so now my instance is ready. You can see it's got the 2 of 2 checks passed under status check. I'm going to go ahead and grab my public IP address, copy and paste that, hop over to the terminal.
SSH in, enable Apple Remote Desktop through the same method as earlier, and we now have GUI access. Thanks for following along today as we showed you how to get started with EC2 Mac instances, using either the AWS CLI or the AWS console. Please check back for more video tutorials on EC2 Mac. Thanks for watching.